Well, Hillary Clinton is gearing up for a big speech tomorrow aimed at hitting Donald Trump's business practices as Trump looks to attract voters with his own economic agenda. To the Weekly Standard's Fred Barnes and Fox News contributor Julie Roginsky. Good to see you both. Fred, how vulnerable is Trump to this charge? I've heard a lot of people with whom this charge seems to be sinking in, that he's the big guy, well-connected, using a team of lawyers to hurt the little guy that he does business with.
Well, look, that's going to be used against him. You remember what happened to Mitt Romney 4 years ago? It was very similar. But on the economy more generally, if Hillary talks about that, she's not going to do well. You know, the Tax Foundation, which is independent and nonpartisan, looked at all her tax plans and said, look, this will lose jobs and shrink the economy. Not a lot, but shrink it a little bit. On the other hand, Trump, who may have some cosmetic problems about his business practices, really has a lot of incentives in his tax plan.
Well, he does.
You know?
He does. But, Julie, you know, as much as I love substance, like Fred Barnes does, and he's been writing about it for decades, as I have, still it's the superficial stuff that seems to stick to these politicians. That's why Trump has latched on to these nicknames for politicians with great effect in his part. And her characterization of him seems to be having some impact.
Well, it's not just her characterization. Look, Moody's Analytics came out today. Mark Zandi, who's certainly no Democrat or partisan, came out and said that Donald Trump's tax plan would lead to a recession, 7% unemployment, 3.5 million people unemployed.
I hate to stop you, Julie, but I want to deal with the superficial, not the substantive here.
Okay.
I mean, the characterization of Trump as a bully in business who picks on little guys with his team of lawyers, that's got to hurt.
Well, it does hurt. And look, Trump is not helping himself, because what Trump is going out there and saying with crooked Hillary, all these little nicknames that he's come up with, that's not the mark of a serious man who's running a serious campaign.
I think those nicknames are sticking, Fred, just the way her attacks on Donald Trump's business practices might be sticking as well. But how does he counterattack, Fred? Because he's going to. Does he continue with the charges of double dipping by the Clintons with the Clinton Foundation, or does he say, hey, look, business is tough in New York, this is how you got to do business?
You know, that's a good question. Whether he'll probably do some of both, but I think the smartest thing for him to do is to talk about how flat the economy is now, how poor it's been, how Hillary's plan, spend more money on bridges and roads and so on won't work. Didn't work for Obama, didn't work for FDR for that matter, back in the New Deal, and talk about the economy and don't trade cheap shots with her. Look, he's good at that, but he's not going to be elected president doing that.
Well, maybe the campaign shuffle had something to do with that today. On to the Democratic battle that's taken place. Julie, Wall Street donors are seeking to block Senator Liz Warren as a VP pick. This is according to a Politico report. What do you think is going to happen there? I think Hillary has to move to the center. She spent the past several months moving to the left because of Bernie. If she picks Liz Warren or Bernie, she'll be seen as more far to the left, no?
Well, you usually pick a vice presidential candidate who has something that you're lacking. That's why Joe Biden was the vice presidential candidate for Barack Obama. Obama needed support among those working-class white voters that Biden could bring. Right now, Bernie Sanders, the party's beginning to coalesce, and so Elizabeth Warren would have made sense a month or two ago. But now as the party is coalescing and the Sanders supporters are coming over, there's less and less of a rationale for somebody like an Elizabeth Warren. And that's why at the end of the day, I don't think Wall Street has much to worry about.
So who's the centrist, Julie, that she might pick?
You know, it's a good question as to whether she needs a centrist or she just needs somebody to, again, to appeal to those white working class voters that Trump appeals to. Sherrod Brown, who's not a centrist, but is somebody who's very anti-free trade, and somebody who would appeal to some demographic that Trump appeals to,
well,
the anti-NAFTA, the anti-free trade people.
That she needs to appeal to is the millennials, Fred. She's getting up there in years. Somebody like Julian Castro also has the Hispanic vote on his side. Do you think he might be picked?
Yeah, man, he's 41. That helps a lot. Look, Elizabeth, I don't think these Wall Street guys have anything to worry about. I agree that there might have been a serious push for Elizabeth Warren a couple months ago, but now it makes no sense. She's too old. She's 66. She's not a follower. I mean, does Hillary want some vice president who is always going to be a thorn in her side, pushing her to the left all the time?
No, not at this point. Not for the general. Julie, Fred, thank you very much, folks.
Thanks very much.
Appreciate it.